I did not know that an FD in your parents' preferred bank account is not the best investment. I did not know that life insurance is not supposed to make money for you. And I did not know that the stock market is much, much beyond just pure gambling and scams. I invested my money that I had saved up in a few IPOs and I lost my money. But this is the biggest financial blunder that we make. This way, you will never end up saving anything. Instead, do the smart thing. Many a times in our lives, we think कि save करना चाहिए, invest करना चाहिए, but वो हो नहीं पाता है. Then we think, no problem, I will save when I earn some more money. But फिर वो भी नहीं हो पाता है. And all of this leads to a vicious cycle in which you are gambling away your financial life. So if you are somebody who is struggling to manage your finances, hear me out. Hi everybody, this is Priyanka Mashelkar and I am Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax with the Government of India and I am from Mumbai. I come from a strictly middle class family. Both my parents were professors who later went on to become the principal and vice principal in the college that they taught at. So as you can imagine, education was all important in my household. My parents had built up this entire life that we had through education, and that was the path that they wanted us to follow as well. Despite education being so important, if 10 years ago you had asked me what I wanted to become, what was the career that I wanted to pursue, a tax officer would have been the last thing on my mind. In fact, I'm pretty sure I didn't even know that taxation was a valid career option. All of this changed when I was studying to become a computer engineer. Unlike most of my classmates, I loved the subject. But like most of them, I knew that I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. While they chose the MBA route, I wanted to do something different, something impactful. This is when I got to know about a young breed of our citizens called bureaucrats. These bureaucrats work within the government system. They participate in the day-to-day functioning of our country, and they hold power, albeit limited, to better the lives of ordinary citizens. The civil services examination, by clearing which you can become one of these bureaucrats, was the test that I had been looking for. The test that would tell me once and for all whether I was willing to stake everything that I had built up to this point on an examination that could defeat the best of the best. Fortunately for me, I was able to crack this examination and I was allotted the Indian Revenue Service. The members of this service handle the direct tax administration of the country, the dreaded income tax, in other words. To my utter surprise, despite not having any background in accounts or law, I loved it. This was a service that managed to combine everything that I had held dear to me till this point. I was able to use my analytical skills. It was a job that had a direct impact on our country. And plus, it allowed me a chance to play the detective at times. This is how I have ended up where I am today, Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax with the Government of India, and loving it every day. Surprisingly, this job was also my first introduction to the captivating world of finance and money. This is where, for the very first time, I was able to interact with the creme of the country. I was able to see firsthand what they were doing differently, what they were teaching their kids that people like you and I would never have access to. I learned how important finances and money are and how crucial it is that we manage our finances well. But for that, you need to know the basics of personal finance. And personal finance is such a scary word, isn't it? Add to it the hundreds of investment advisors, the technical jargon, and the very real chance that you will end up losing all of your hard-earned money. And any rational person would run for the hills. But personal finance doesn't have to be so complicated. At its very heart, personal finance is a series of simple and basic steps. And the best part about this is that once you have your own personal system set up, It will run on autopilot in the background with minimal supervision from you. Unfortunately, I did not know all of this until I was in my late 20s. I did not know that an FD in your parents' preferred bank account is not the best investment. I did not know that life insurance is not supposed to make money for you. And I did not know that the stock market is much, much beyond just pure gambling and scams. I am sure that amongst the audience today, there are people who want to invest and who want to save for the future, but are scared. Maybe you are scared because you think that you will lose your money in the latest cryptocurrency route. Or maybe you are one of those who is scared that you will miss the next big investment trend and remain cash trapped forever. Let me tell you how I started off with my personal finance journey. I started off by not saving at all. I would spend whatever I made and I was happy with it. Then, as I grew up, I realized that maybe future Priyanka needed some money as well. I started saving, but I didn't invest because I didn't know where and how. As my friend circle grew, some of my friends started advising me regarding investing in stocks. IPOs was a very big trend when I was in that phase of life. So I invested my money that I had saved up in a few IPOs and I lost my money. So I have made all the possible mistakes that one can make and I have learnt from them. And for that youngster in the crowd today who wants to invest and who wants to save but wants to skip all of these mistakes that I have made, these are my top 5 learnings. Number 1, treat savings as an expense. What do you do when your salary hits your account every month? You may pay off some bills. You could pay back some people that you've borrowed money from. And maybe then if a little bit is left over, you'll use it for your own entertainment. Where is the question of even saving anything arising from? But this is the biggest financial blunder that we make. Treating savings as an option once all our expenses are met. This way, you will never end up saving anything because expenses always grow proportionately to your income. Instead, do the smart thing. Most of us can live quite comfortably if we put aside 10% of our income every month. As soon as your income hits, take 10% aside, no questions asked, to another bank account and save and invest that money. You will realize that once you have less money in your primary bank account, magically your expenses reduce to that amount. One day, very soon, your future self will thank you for it. Second, build an emergency fund. If the pandemic has taught us anything at all, it has taught us that our jobs aren't as secure as we once thought they were. That at our workplaces, we are replaceable and disposable. I think all of us know of some or the other case of friends or family members who have lost their jobs during this pandemic. In addition to the stress and humiliation of losing your income, these people have also had to contend with the pressures of paying off EMIs or the tuition fee of their kids without having a salary incoming on the first of the month. Save yourself this heartbreak and build an emergency fund for yourself. This emergency fund needs to sustain your expenses and your family's expenses for at least 3 to 6 months. And believe me, one day soon, your future self will thank you for it. 3. Get basic life and health insurances, even if you don't think you need them. I think most of us know of cases where the primary breadwinner of the family has passed away in an untimely manner, leaving behind the family to fend for themselves, without even having the space and time to grieve for their own loss. Or maybe you know of cases where an entire family has been put into debt because one member had to undergo a prolonged illness or an accident that required hospitalization. Don't do that to yourself and your family. Get a basic term life insurance and a health insurance that covers hospitalization. After all, even a football team needs a goalkeeper. But remember, insurance is not an investment. Don't try to make money off of your insurance policies. And life insurance is for the primary breadwinner of the family, whereas health insurance needs to cover every single one of you. Fourth, your very first financial goal, after you set up your defenses of the emergency fund and your insurances, needs to be retirement. You need to plan backwards when you set your financial goals. Retirement is a very, very easy goal to delay because you think it is so far away in the future and by then you will have saved enough. But believe me, when you are old and grey, you require every penny that you can save when you are young. If you start saving now, by the time that you are ready to retire, you will be, like the wealthy of the world, able to choose what you want to do with your time because your investments are earning enough for you. If at that point you choose to work, it will be out of choice and not out of compulsion. And if you don't start saving right now for retirement, you will forever be on a never-ending treadmill run where you are having to work another day just to make it through another day. Fifth, invest in equities or the stock market as it is popularly called. We have a very wrong notion of the stock market, that it is a very speculative and a risky investment and is only for those people who understand trading and maths. But that's not the case. Stock markets become very risky when you commit 3 cardinal mistakes. 1. You invest for the short term. We invest today thinking that we will book the profits of the stocks that we bought in a couple of months. 2. We invest or we try to pick certain stocks. Maybe we think ABC company is undervalued because we read its fundamentals, or maybe a friend of yours told you, gave you an insider tip that some company is going to boom. Don't try to pick stocks. That is the second cardinal mistake. And third, you try to time the market. You try to see whether the Sensex is at a high or a particular stock is at its 52-week low. If you avoid these 3 mistakes, that is, you invest in the stock market for the long term, you invest in a broad array of stocks, maybe like an index fund or any other mutual fund. And 3, you don't try to time the market, but invest consistently no matter what the status of the market is. You will be rewarded by the wealth building capabilities of the stock market. Remember, there is a saying that when there is blood on the floor of the stock market, you must invest, even if the blood is your own. What does that mean? It means start an SIP and leave it and keep investing and forget about it for a decade. You will be surprised by how much wealth has been built while you were busy living your life. And that is all that one needs to do, sincerely and consistently. Sooner rather than later, you will find out that personal finance is not such a scary word after all. Thank you.
Josh Talks is now a Spotify exclusive podcast. The audio version of our talks will be available only on Spotify. If you like this video and you'd like to listen to more inspiring stories like this, please follow the Josh Talks podcast only on Spotify.
क्योंकि आप जोश टॉक्स देख रहे हैं, जाहिर सी बात है कि आप अपनी जिंदगी में आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। ये जाहिर सी बात है कि आप अपनी जिंदगी को सीरियसली लेते हैं, आप वो सारे स्किल्स एक्वायर करना चाहते हैं जिससे आप जिंदगी में तरक्की कर सकें, लोगों से आगे बढ़ पाएं। और अगर ये सच है तो जोश टॉक्स का ही एक ऐप है जोश स्किल्स, जहां एग्जैक्टली इसी चीज को करने के लिए बहुत ही खूबसूरत बहुत सारे कोर्सेज बनाए गए हैं। कोर्सेज जो लाखों स्टूडेंट्स ऑलरेडी ले चुके हैं। ये कोर्सेज स्पेसिफिकली सिर्फ एजुकेशनल नहीं है जहां आप एक्सेल स्किल्स, पावर पॉइंट स्किल्स और ये सब सीख सकते हैं, बल्कि लाइफ स्किल्स भी हैं जहां आप पब्लिक स्पीकर कैसे बना जाए वो सीख सकते हैं, आप कॉन्फिडेंस कैसे एक्वायर कर सकते हैं वो सीख सकते हैं, आप हेजिटेशन के बिना कैसे बोलें वो सीख सकते हैं, आप अपनी पर्सनालिटी कैसे डेवलप कर सकते हैं वो सीख सकते हैं। हर एक कोर्स में डेली क्विजेज हैं, एक्सरसाइजेज हैं, एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत कम्युनिटी है जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगी, आपको इनकरेज करेगी। तो अगर आपको ये टॉक पसंद आया हो, जोश टॉक्स जो करता है वो पसंद है, तो आपको जोश स्किल्स भी बहुत बहुत ही फायदेमंद लगेगा। आज ही डाउनलोड करें जोश स्किल्स का ऐप और उनके कोर्सेज एक्सप्लोर करके अपनी जिंदगी को